All right, let's talk Tyson Foods. Today, we're going to crack open their latest quarterly report to figure out what's really going on with their numbers. It's a fascinating story.
So at first glance, things look pretty good, right? The revenue, the total amount of money they brought in, beat what Wall Street was expecting by almost $200 million. That's a big beat. But here's the twist. Their earnings per share, that key measure of actual profitability, well, that actually missed the mark. Just by a penny, but still, a miss is a miss.
So what gives? How can you sell more stuff but make less profit? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today. Let's dig in and unpack what's happening behind the scenes.
Okay, so to start piecing this together, we have to look at the parts of the business that are just absolutely crushing it right now. And you can hear it right from the top. CEO Donnie King is pointing out that, hey, their strategy is working. And a huge part of that success, it's coming from two specific high-performing areas. And wow, when you look at the numbers, you really see what he's talking about. I mean, look at this. Chicken and prepared foods are just knocking it out of the park. We're talking hundreds of millions in operating income from both. And what's really impressive is they're not just selling more, they're stealing market share. Their branded stuff grew 2.5%, while the rest of the market actually shrank. That's huge. But like I said, that's only one side of the coin. To really understand that earnings miss, we've got to look at the other half of the business, which is, well, it's facing some serious headwinds. This slide really lays it all out. It is truly a tale of two Tysons. On one hand, you've got chicken and prepared foods, strong growth, winning in stores. Everything's looking up. But then you look at the beef division, and it's a completely different story. They're getting squeezed by tight cattle supplies and high costs, and it's dragging their profits way, way down. And just how significant is that drag? Well, the company is bracing for a potential loss of up to $500 million this year, just from the beef segment alone. That is a massive hole to fill.
Okay, so you've got this huge contrast in the business. What do? Well, Tyson's leadership isn't just sitting back. They're making a couple of big strategic pivots. First up, they're tackling the beef problem head-on. They know this cattle supply issue isn't going away anytime soon. We're talking 2026, 2027. So they're making some tough calls, closing a facility here, scaling back operations there. The goal is to create a smaller, leaner, more efficient beef business that can actually compete in this tough market. And the CEO, Donnie King, he's not mincing words here. He's basically saying, we can't keep bleeding money like this. It's a clear signal that these changes, as difficult as they are absolutely essential for the health of the whole company. All right, their second move is a little more inside baseball, but it's super important. They're changing how they measure success internally. They're switching to this thing called segment operating income. Now, what does that mean? Basically, they're telling their division managers, hey, just focus on what you can control, sell more stuff, manage your direct costs. Don't worry about all the corporate overhead. It's a clever way to get everyone laser-focused on growth.
So making these big moves takes confidence, right? And that confidence comes from having a really solid financial foundation to stand on, which lets them make these kinds of changes.
And this is the key takeaway here. Even with the big losses in beef, the company's overall financial health is surprisingly strong. They've paid down over $1 billion in debt compared to last year. They're generating a ton of cash from operations, almost $1 billion in Q1 alone. This gives them the breathing room to fix the beef segment without panicking.
All right, so they've got a plan, and they've got the financial muscle to see it through. So what's next? What does the future hold for Tyson?
Well, there's a pretty big trend working in their favor. You know how everyone's talking about protein these days? Well, the new U.S. dietary guidelines are actually recommending more of it. For a company that produces 1 out of every 5 pounds of chicken, beef, and pork in the country, that's a huge tailwind. It validates their entire business model. And that brings us to the big, lingering question. Look, we know Tyson has an absolute killer playbook for chicken and prepared foods. They know how to win there. The real question is, as consumer tastes keep changing, can that winning formula be powerful enough to carry the entire company while they navigate these really strong headwinds in their other big business? That's the story we'll be watching.